Welcome to Living Martial Arts with Master Ray Gale, aka the Dark Master. Living Martial Arts discuss and examines the everyday exercise, philosophy, and lifestyle of the martial arts enthusiast. The host talks about his own training, past and present, and he also interviews many martial artists to discover how they continue to live their own martial arts journey. Tune in for top tips on how to get the best out of your martial art. Or perhaps you're thinking of starting a martial art. This podcast offers you an easy way to dip your toe in. Sign up for the newsletter at livingmartialarts.com and get regular updates and training tips direct to your inbox. Follow the Dark Master on Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram at Living Martial Arts.
Oh, hi. Right. Just hello to all the Living Martial Arts fans. Let's hope my audience is increasing. I've missed a couple during the summer period, but we're back on it again. I've got a great guest today, Mr. Stuart Anslow, and he is actually editor of Totally Taekwondo magazine, digital magazine, which has been around for a long time and highly respected by a lot of people I know as well. He's also the author of a number of different books on Taekwondo, and also, I don't know him, and he'll probably tell me, is very well known for his knowledge on alternative applications to the moves in the patterns within Taekwondo. So yes, hi Stuart, how are you doing?
Yeah, hi, thanks for having me. I'm doing good, thanks.
Good. Well, I hope I haven't misrepresented you in any way there. So if I have, just let me know. But like all of these podcasts and as people that I speak to, I always like to give the audience a bit of an overview, really, of people's sort of martial arts journey and some of the, things they've done and what they've been through and so on. So I don't know if you can do that for us.
Okay, well, I got into martial arts about 1986, just at my end years of high school. Bummed around a bit with different clubs and different instructors. Went to college, and then I was doing a physical education CSE at the time. And I went to college, done some judo there for about 6 months, and fencing as well for another 6 months. And then I finally decided to settle down with a martial art and study it properly. So I looked around at the clubs in the area. There was a couple of karate clubs, but I didn't really want karate. So I knew quite a lot about martial arts, so I thought back then I wanted something that wasn't as rigid in my view as karate and not as flowy as many of the kung fu styles I've seen. So I sort of went in between and picked Taekwondo, checked a few Taekwondo clubs up, and settled at Wembley Taekwondo, which was at the time run under the BUTF, or it still is under the BUTF, under Grandmaster Choi. Okay,
no worries. Well, I mean, it's interesting because I knew a little bit about martial arts before I started, but mainly from TV, and I went to a karate club when I first started, and I think I've said this before on the podcast. When I went along to the karate club, I just found all the people were huge and massive. I was like the smallest there. I used to come back beaten and battered most evenings, to be honest. That wasn't the reason why I stopped going there. The reason I stopped going there is I found out there was a Taekwondo class closer to me, and I didn't have to take initially a bus. But then when I started driving, I didn't have to drive too far. I could either walk or take my push bike, which is what it's about. So you mentioned Master Choi. I knew him well. Obviously, I know that he's not still teaching, and I assume the school is under a different instructor now. I don't know if you know who is teaching there.
Grandmaster Choi passed away a few years back, actually.
Yes.
And he was the chief instructor of the organisation. My proper instructor is Master David Bryan. And At the time, I've had two instructors. So it was Master Bryan, who was, I think, third or fourth down then, and Mr. John Pepper, who was the second degree. So we used to get different instructors on a weekly basis.
Yeah. Sure.
Master Bryan, Mr. Pepper retired quite some years ago. and Master Brian's still teaching Wembley Taekwondo.
Right. So still going strong.
Yeah, still going.
Excellent. So obviously, I mentioned in the intro, you've got a passion for Taekwondo, or some of the the alternative applications of Taekwondo. How this is sort of a all of these questions could last for 3 hours, I'm sure. And I was going to say, how do you fit martial arts into your life now in these days? I know that you're an instructor, you teach, and you've written some books and so on. But what does your sort of everyday martial arts life or week look like?
Well, I'm a full-time instructor now, as in I make my living from Taekwondo. It's a mix between my club, the books, and the magazine. And so when things aren't going quite so well in one area, the other things cover it. It's not all eggs in one basket. The club's doing pretty well. The club's been established now 21 years, so that's good. So I teach in 3 days a week, and when I'm not teaching, I'm either working out of my bag at home sometimes, not as often as I used to when I was young, or doing the magazine, and then might settle down and start doing another book. I'm not doing one at the moment, but that takes a lot of time. But that's my week is basically martial arts, whether I'm at the club or at home. I don't do any other sports. I'm not out playing football or anything like that. So might be running through my at home. My daughter trains as well, so training with her sometimes.
Sure.
That's it.
Yeah,
it's just martial arts.
I'm doing it wrong. I'm still doing 4 to 5 nights a week. I need to do less. I keep saying to myself every year I need to do less. But I end up doing more.
I have thought of doing that because I know a lot of instructors, teach more. But I don't want the shine to go. I've always loved doing it, and I figure if you're doing it all the time, teaching all the time, it's going to take the shine off it a bit. So. Yeah, I my classes. I'm not like raking in the money, and I'm not driving around in Ferraris like some instructors and things like that. But I get by, I can pay me mortgage, so I'm happy.
Well, you and me both. I'm definitely not living an extravagant lifestyle. I've got to be honest. I know I do. I haven't found that. I mean, I enjoy my. I do enjoy my teaching, even though I'm saying 4 or 5 nights. One of the reasons why I still do that is because I still love doing it. I still enjoy it, and I still love doing it. And sometimes at the end of the week, it gets a bit tiring. But I've never ever thought that I would ever retire from this. Apart from when they knock the nails in to my wooden box, that's going to be it for me. I started doing it, and I've always told my students I'm going to be here forever doing it, and unless I can't do it for any reason, then I'll still keep going. So it still does excite me, and every and I do enjoy the physical side of it as well. I love the actual push-ups and the kicking. Not that I can kick as high as I used to, but I do love that, which is really what sparked my interest when I first started. It was the physical side of it, and the sweat, and I loved it every minute of it. So it was great. And long may that continue. I'm hoping to teach to at least 95, and then I might slow down.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same. I can't see myself stopping teaching.
Yeah. So, what do you think the main benefits? I mean, some of them are obvious within martial arts, I think, but it'd be interesting to find out what you think of the main benefits that you've got from, first of all, you're training as an individual, and then maybe as an instructor.
From training, obviously, learning how to fight, how to defend yourself, which gives you confidence. And that confidence, this is something I always tell parents or students, it's confidence that expands into other areas of your life. It's not just about, I'm confident to defend myself. It's, if you're doing, say, public speaking or kids doing something at school. And I think that's a main benefit. Obviously, staying fit and healthy. I remember when I used to train when I was younger, I used to train for 4 or 5 days a week. If I wasn't training at the club, I was doing 4-hour sessions with a heavyweight Shotokan black belt in my garage, and we trained for like 4 hours, just full out. And I never used to catch a cold, never used to get sick. Yeah. If I got heal really quickly. Not so much these days. Injuries take longer to heal, so I'm more careful. But there's the benefits of training. Benefits of teaching. I think it's just giving up to others what I've got out of art for the years. The years. And it's like I said, you hear parents talking to parents of kids who have been training and are now teenagers, and you hear them speaking to other parents. Oh, when my son started, he was really shy, and now he's like this. Or, I think that's the benefit. Keeps kids busy. I don't know why I'm saying kids. Keeps everyone busy. We have adults and kids and everyone at the club. So
yeah, definitely. No, I'd agree with that. I mean, I think it's interesting for me because I think that as time's gone on, when I first sort of started, and maybe you can comment on this as well, the dynamics or the type of people that I have in my class now, there's a lot more mix of people. When I first started, it was mainly guys, mainly young guys who were interested in fighting and defense and whatever, self-defense. But within, not myself personally, although I have got a few older students, but we had a guy start 18 months ago who was 90. We also 90. We had I've got a group of ladies that I grade. They're not my students, but I grade them. They're called the Tough Old Birds, and they train in Stroud. And most of them are in their 70s and 80s. So I don't know if you can if you've got such a cross section. Have you?
No, but before we carry on with this, that would be a good article for the magazine.
Well, it would, yeah, definitely. Well, I actually wrote a small article that I put on the podcast, but that would be certainly good. And I'm sure they'd be up for it. Doing that. So we'll have to get that one going.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Definitely.
In my club, we have what's the oldest? We have some students for sort of, I'm not sure the exact age, 50, mid 50s. I haven't had anyone 90 ever asked to train. But like you, when I started, the Wembley Taekwondo was mainly adults with some older teenagers. I'm talking like 17, 18-year-olds, and the odd kid, like 12, who was the brother of another student there. It was that age group. And then, like you said, as time has passed by, and then you got the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and the mixed martial arts that all the youngsters want to do now. The atmosphere, or not the atmosphere, but the selection of students has changed. But that's just. But yeah, I think traditional martial arts, whether taekwondo or karate or whatever floats people's boats, it's still valuable. And not everybody wants to be rolling around on the floor, do MMA fights and stuff like that. I've just had a student who trained with me when he was at high school, and then he had to stop, and he's come back now. He's 30. So he was like 15 or 16 when he started training, and then 14 years later, come back, and he's loving it. Yeah. People really benefit. So.
Yeah, it's nice to see that. I've got a couple of students who started with me. Well, one in particular who started with me when he was 7. He's now 40 odd, and has got his own family now. Whether they will come along and start, I'm not sure at the moment. But it's great it's actually great to follow people through their life and see how they develop and the impact that martial arts can make on certain individuals. It's quite a humbling experience, I find. So that's quite good.
Yeah, I've run in a club for 21 years, what it is now. Yeah. Like you, I've seen students start as teenagers, and now they're getting married and stuff. In fact, my most senior student, Vic, he joined Wembley Taekwondo Club when I was a black belt, and he was like 12 or 13 at the time. And I've seen him go from a boy to a man, seen him have girlfriends, seen him get married. Now we've got 2 kids, and he's still training at my club. Which is, he's been around a long time. And then my first couple of black belts, most of them are married now. Got kids, and a lot of them are still around. Not all of them, but a lot of them, and it's
good to see, isn't it? I've just literally had my first student who has reached master level from starting with me in the very early 80s, who's got to the grade of master, which is nice to see. I mean, I'm not I don't know if this is controversial or not. I'm not a big one on grades, to be quite honest with you. I never ever wanted to be a 7th degree or an 8th degree, or when I was a 5th degree, I got sort of pushed to take a 6, and then they asked me about 7. I said, no, I don't want to be. I'm quite happy being what I was, because for me, it's always been about the training. I've loved the training. As I said, particularly the physical side of it. So, but it's nice to see somebody who's been with me such a long time reach that level. It's
great achievement.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm happy for him. I'm happy for the association as well, which is nice. So just coming on to I know this. Sorry, this is probably a disingenuous statement, because I'm sure you're much more than this, and I know you are, because you've been teaching a long time. But a lot of people see you as a person who is particularly involved with alternative applications of movements within our Taekwondo syllabus. So first of all, I want to ask you, how do you see, how do you judge that statement? And I know you're obviously more than that, and I know you see Taekwondo. That is just Taekwondo. It's not anything other than that. It's just Taekwondo. It's not something that's separate from Taekwondo. A lot of people do see it separate from Taekwondo. I'm sure you don't. Well, how do you respond to that one?
Well, as in, people see what they call alternative applications. I just call applications.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
The applications, when you're teaching a student, say you're teaching a student, say Dan Gunn, and you show them the say moves 3, 4, and 5. And you teach them, basics. Oh, this is a knife hand block. You can, and you show them where to place it, and maybe put an arm out so they're blocking a punch. And then when you put them all together and you show them how it can be used, as in to move in, trap an arm, and to do a takedown and a throw, they're like, wow. It sort of blows their mind, and they realizing they're learning something that's more than the sum of its parts. What they're seeing. I just think it makes, whether you like them, or you'd rather just stick to the really basic applications that we was always taught, that's up to the individual. But I think it elevates the art, and it definitely elevates a student's learning and the way they can react to stuff, because you're basically teaching them self-defense combinations that would actually work. Yeah. Rather than just doing a pattern that, it wouldn't work. They're not going to fingertip thrust somebody in the eye in the street. Well, it might do, but it's basically a bigger toolbox to use. The average person who doesn't look into these or doesn't train at a club that does them will have a limited repertoire of combinations. And the one thing that irks me a bit is that a lot of these clubs, they're supplementing their self-defense side by doing Krav Maga or something like that. Which Krav Maga, from what I've seen, is basically the whole and soul section of Taekwondo anyway. But for some reason, they because of the way they've been taught themselves, they can't teach this stuff for some reason. I don't know why, because but if they did, they'd be doing Taekwondo and not have to do the Krav Maga or whatever they supplement it with. It's all there in the system anyway.
It's interesting, because was it something? It's interesting you say that, because different things get sort of passed on, and I can say sort of during the 80s, for example, I did a little bit of when Jeff Thompson, for example, was doing the rounds. I did a little bit with him, and there was I forget some of the names anyway, who were doing, for want of a better word, self-defense style martial arts or combat, whatever you want to call it. And a lot of the stuff, I went along and thought, wow, I've never seen that before, and I've never been taught it. So my point is that I think a lot of things don't get passed on; they've been lost for whatever reason. And I'm wondering first of all, wondering why, because it's certainly a lot of things was I learned this as a block. That's a block, nothing else. So you obviously must have thought, well, hang on a minute, it must be something more to this, or was it somebody who inspired you to look into this?
Well, there's two questions there. The first one, where are these applications and why aren't they in the system? And that goes back to the history of karate, not taekwondo.
Yes.
It goes back from when it come from Okinawa to Japan.
Well, the karate principle, isn't it? Yeah.
Whole different discussion, because they, in short, basically, for one reason or another, took out all the stuff to teach en masse. So they wanted to teach 500 students in a line how to do a block. And it's harder to teach 500 students how to use a block to perform a semi-complicated application. You need to go around. So that's the one side of it. For me, I come up the same, so there's no problem with, I call that Taekwondo's black hole, because we learn what they learned in karate. General Choi learned that and passed it on. So they learned it as a block. General Choi learned it as a block. He taught his senior instructors it as a block. And so we learned it as a block. And that's how it was until I think the early 90s or mid 90s. And then, we were fortunate enough that a lot of our patterns were segments taken from the Shotokan kata.
Yeah.
And those segments, if you go right back beyond the Japan days, if you look in very old karate books, you can see like Funakoshi doing throws. You can see him like doing arm locks, and then you look at it and think, hold on, that combination's from one yo. Yeah. It's virtually the same.
Yeah.
So that's how we can get applications like that are realistic. But my first, like I said, I come up the same as everybody else in the UK. We was taught a middle block is to block a punch. Palm upward blocks a punch from underneath and parries it upwards. Why would you parry a punch upwards towards your face? I don't know, but that's what we learned. And then I used to get all the martial arts magazines, Combat Fighters, Martial Arts Illustrated, Terry O'Neill's one, Karate International. Anything I could get my hands on. And I was reading, I think, Combat Magazine, and I come across, I think it's just a 2-page article with Master Willie Lim.
Oh, yeah.
It was just him showing, I think it was showing how a knife hand guarding block can be an arm lock. And I was like, oh, yeah. And at the time, funny you mentioned Jeff Thompson, because it's about the time his book, Real Self-Defense, come out. And so we was going to the club an hour early anyway, and we was practicing like defense and, preemptive striking and all that. And then I read this, I booked this article, and then we started practicing the moves from Master Lim.
Yeah.
It was like 3 or 4 photographs, and it was a one-off article, but that made me think about all the other stuff that could be there.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, I was training with this karate guy at the time, and I'd say, oh, what do you do for this move? And he'd say, oh, yeah, that's a head grab. And I'm like, oh, okay, so in your system, you grab a head with it. Yeah. Oh, we thrust our fingers towards the eyes. And then you start putting things together and thinking, hold on, why would you poke someone in the eye and kick him in the groin? What you're doing is doing like a flat fingertip thrust over their head to grab their hair, pull them forward, and then kick them in the groin. So they can't move. If you poke someone in the eye with a fingertip thrust, they're going to move backwards away from your kick anyway.
Yeah.
And then it's just over time, I was like researching stuff, and I was writing a manual. Weird enough, my first book didn't even start off as a book for the masses. I was writing a manual for my students. I thought I'd get a ring-bound thing. So, rather than giving sheets of paper all the time, I'll give them each manual. And then it just grew, and I started putting applications in. And then in the end, I just decided, I'll just do as many patterns as I can. And the one thing I like, I mean, there's lots of good books out, but with mine, you can go from the very beginning of a pattern to the very end of a pattern. Every move is used, whether you like it or not. Whereas other books, they will show some combinations, show some good stuff, but then they miss out other stuff.
Yeah.
And they got some stuff, but I like the fact that if you've got a green belt, they can go through the whole of one yo and put realistic applications to every single combination in there.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to achieve. I didn't just want to do a bit here and a bit there, because you see seminars, and I've seen guys do seminars, and they take bits from MMA and they show them as, this can also be a Taekwondo combination, and it can be used in this pattern. But, they're picking and choosing. Whereas I force myself to find, I mean, even sometimes there was one move in one of the patterns, in Chung Mu. Is it Chung Mu or Farang? Where you do that U-shaped block, then you do the 360 jump.
Oh yeah, Chung Mu. Yeah.
And they stumped me why anyone would jump up in the air, turn 360 degrees to land back facing exactly the same way. I just couldn't get my head around it. So luckily, I was into Ian Abernethy's stuff. I was part of his forum and stuff. So I put it on there and he replied, "Oh, break it down into 2 moves." And then it sort of like light bulb hit me. Yeah, it's not a jump. You step round and then you step round again.
Yeah.
And it's actually like throwing somebody and then stepping over their body in front of you type of thing. But there's still a few moves in patterns that I'm not totally happy with. Like I said, when I've done the first book, it was very early days for me trying to research stuff. So I would buy all the karate books I can, especially Shotokan ones, and we'll go to the library and look at them and go through their kata and see what things they had. But a lot of them were the same as our old Taekwondo books. They was punch, kick, block type stuff. But eventually, a bigger picture. And then, like I said, eventually I was happy enough to release the first book. That's the one book I would actually redo, because since then, obviously it come out in, I think, 2005. I've got 50 more years of knowledge where I would go back and change some of them. Applications. Not all of them, but some of them.
It's interesting. It's interesting. It's interesting you mentioned Willie Lim, because I did some with him in the early days as well. Willie Lim, we had him come to Bristol when I was living in Bristol, and as I said to you, he was doing this. He said, you could use it for this, and we were quite amazed at the time because we'd never seen anything like it. And it was quite an eye opener. But I like the fact that my thing about martial arts, whether it be Taekwondo, karate, Kung Fu, anything really, is that people can have a certain passion in one particular aspect, but still love everything, if you know what I mean. And fair play to you as well for digging so deep into it. And you've obviously gone deep into it, which is great. Which also shows your passion as well. And I think whatever people do, I like to see people who are passionate about something, whether I like it or not. I like to see people who are passionate about it and not just talk about it, but do something about it as well, which is quite important. So well done to you on that. Brilliant.
Thanks. We had great fun doing that. When I was writing the first book, my dojang, it was a community centre, but no one else trained there. No one else did anything there at the time because it was on a really rough estate. And I had the keys to the hall. So we could stay there for 3-4 hours after a class and take the photographs. So we would test out the applications as well. Well, I would show them to the students and they would test them on each other. And then, if it was good, we do the photographs and do it like that. And, it's people, a lot of these anti-application people, what they do one test run of an application. It doesn't work for them as well as like it should do, or how I've written about it in the book, and they discard it, which is fine. But I tell people an application is the same as a psychic. If you think someone's going to do one psychic and get it perfect the very first time, it's not going to happen. These things take time to practice, like anything else. If everything was that easy, everybody would be a grandmaster or a black belt. It's repetition like anything else. But the problem is they discard it mainly because General Choi hasn't said it, and it's not in his book. So.
Well, there's a lot of people out there that say General Choi said a lot of things and a lot of different things. But there's
one of the things he did say, which they forget, is that General Choi said if an application works, it's a good application.
Yes,
It's not on his book, and he said that at seminars. So.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think, if you look at the Taekwondo world as it is now, particularly in the UK, which is quite splintered, really. We have a lot of groups. I'm guilty of this myself with our group. A lot of people do a lot of things differently because they think, well, actually, I prefer this or I prefer that, or that doesn't seem to make sense, and so on. I also think actually there's a lot of things being changed for change's sake, and also for competition as well, which I don't agree with. But anyway, that's another complete podcast on its own. I would suggest. What about what I call I suppose I'd call it the soft side of martial arts, sort of meditation and breath work, which I've got into. Maybe this just says something about my age, because if anybody said meditation and breath work when I was 27, I'd said, no, I think I'm going to go and spar for 3 hours instead. But I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, or whether you do any yourself.
I've tried Tai Chi. I've done it at seminars, at training. It's not really my thing at my age because I'm still quite young. I'm only 50, so we do that. The only meditation we really do is the standard one at the end of class, which most clubs do, I believe. And it's not really meditation; it's you just meant to sit down and take in what you've learned and try to help yourself remember it. You know. But I don't mind. I mean, I like watching Tai Chi people. I don't mind it. But it's just not for me. But there's a couple of martial arts I've tried over the years that I couldn't get on board with. Not that I think they're bad martial arts or anything. It's just not for me. Might be later, like you said. I know a lot of instructors, as they get older, they do get into Tai Chi and similar arts. So maybe, say never.
Yeah. I tried it a few years ago, a bit of Tai Chi. It wasn't the reason why I did it was more about I wanted to be in a class where nobody knew who I was. So I went to a Tai Chi class, and I did do it for a little while. I actually quite sorry.
You've gone to an Jiu-Jitsu class. You get a hood there. No one will know you.
Well, I did. Do you know what? It's funny you should say that, because I went into a Jiu-Jitsu class and hated it.
Jiu-Jitsu with a hood. Ninja hoods.
It was a sort of a traditional. It wasn't sort of BJJ or anything like that. It was a traditional Jiu-Jitsu class. Many moons ago, but I don't know. I was there and thought, this is not exciting me in any way, shape, or form. And that's
weird. It's weird. Because, hold on, dog's jumping on the table. It's weird because years ago, John Pepper, he was into. Whereas one of my instructors, Dave Bryan, he was just pure Taekwondo through and through. Whereas John Pepper was into other stuff, and he had a mate who was a jiu-jitsu instructor. And he took me and a couple of the other black belts down to their classes like every couple of months. And we did this for about 6 months. And it was all adults, all their fingers were taped together, where they'd broken them. And, it was a really rough and tumble jiu-jitsu club. Hardly any, I don't think there was any kids there. And I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it. It was like, this was before, I got into the applications and all that sort of stuff. I even come across Willie Lim. I love doing the arm locks. I learned how to get rid of a headache. A massage technique to get rid of a headache. And then like throw. Well, I already knew throws from my judo days, but they're locks and a lot of standing throws and stuff like that was quite cool. But obviously different clubs are different, I would say. I think, a student might come into my club and not like it, but then find another Taekwondo club that teaches exactly the same system and their style of teaching is different to mine. So therefore they enjoy it more there. And that's, fair play to them.
Yeah, no, I think you're right there. I mean, don't get wrong. I think there's obviously a place for it all. I just found, for me personally, I don't know what it was. It didn't really excite me. I didn't leave thinking, I'd love to do that again. I thought, I'll just leave that. But like I said, maybe if I'd gone to a different class, different instructor, different approach, it might well have been completely different. Who knows? It depends. What about people who know me well will know that myself and Master Ogborn, my tall sidekick, who I've been known since I was 8 or 9 years old, and we've been taking the mickey out of each other for many years, and training together as well. And in actual fact, it was a great friendship that actually worked out quite well, because when we were both competing, we used to fight we used to go down to our class early and just spar, and we used to literally knock lumps out of each other. So he used to sort of practice sparring with people that were lighter and faster, and I used to practice with people that were heavier and who'd hit hard. And I tell you what, that stood us both in good stead. So my question from that really is, have you ever trained with a regular training partner, or is there anyone that that type you've had that type of relationship with?
Well, like I said, at my club, we was able to go down early, and I trained up to black belt with a a guy called John O'Connor. He's a heavyweight. I was a lightweight at the time. So we used to do exactly the same thing. You know, go in. The instructor trusted us with the keys. We go in, shut the door. Gradually, other students would join us. But at the time, it was just me, John, and then another black belt, Derek. We do that, especially when tournaments were coming up and things like that. Same. I hopefully helped him because I was quite fast. He was powerful. You know, he's a good technician. And like I said, at the same time, I was training with Shotokan. He was a brown belt originally when we started training. Then he got the black belt. He was like 90 kilos and a natural bodybuilder. So he was really big, strong. I remember, he was so powerful. He had an argument with his flatmate and got into a fight once, and he knocked him out with one punch. And the police come round, and his mate was seen walking the streets, and the police come around and arrested him for assault with a deadly weapon. All right, but just his fist. He was that powerful. And it was just a sort of silly sort of friends fight, but one of them lost their temper, all that sort of thing. But he used to really push me because he was mega fit, mega strong. You know, fighter. His only weakness was that he had poor eyesight, so he wore glasses. And then when he used to fight in Shotokan competitions, he used to get disqualified because they weren't allowed to fight in glasses. So I said, "How do you fight?" Because he kept knocking people out. And I said, "Well, how can you fight without your glasses?" He goes, "I just look for the white blur and try to hit it." You know, a lot of times he would hit the wrong part and knock him out. But that was good training. 4 or 5 hours, and then mix that with the club training, and then sometimes we used to get a group of guys and go down, train down the park for 3 or 4 hours, things like that. I don't like it when students, even at my club, I watch the students, and I don't like it when they always seem to pick, you know, someone who's not going to give them too much of a hard time. I always say, pick the biggest, scariest one you can find. That's the person you want to be fighting if you want to become a good fighter. Well, exactly.
You have to do it. Well, in some respects, I mean, I'm you know, and I say this to my students when I started. I mean, I was very, very light and small. You know, you could argue I'm still that now. And there was no weight categories. It's just like, right, green belts over there, blue belts over there, pair you off, and that was it. Right. So you just fought anyone. You know, consequently, my first tournament, I had my ribs broken by a guy who was about 5 stone heavier than me. But I loved it. I thought, I'm going to do that again. My mum thought I was absolutely bonkers. So it took a few years before weights came in the very early 80s to a lot of the competition. But most up to that point were just open weight stuff. You know, and I did enjoy it. But which is where I developed my style of sparring, which was just to move, because if I didn't, I knew I was going to get hurt. So it taught me a lot about movement and about sort of slipping kicks and punches and things like that. So that was quite good. So, you know.
Well, when I started, they had 3 weight divisions. So I would mainly fight, you know, people roughly around my weight, and I stayed the same weight for many, many years. I'm still not too far over it now. But occasionally we go to tournaments and they'd be like, you know, not a great turnout or whatever. So they'd mix all the weight divisions together. And I remember once I fought a guy who was 20 kilos heavier than me. And I could move around, but you've only got so much room to move. And luckily I was quite quick. So that was all right. I didn't mind that. But then when I hit 35 and I went into the veterans divisions, they was all big guys. Everyone. So I've done the vets for about, I don't know, 5 years or something. But the problem was, I was like, lucky if I was 70 kilos. These guys were like 80, 90 kilos. And the problem is, it's all right, you can move around them, but eventually they're going to land something on you. So that it is all right. Like I said, I use speed against you know, the weight and whatever. But I remember years ago, and this is what I teach in my club, a valuable lesson, because I was always able to move around the big guys with good footwork and stuff. And then I was at a black belt, BUTF black belt training session, and this guy Kelly Ephraim was there, and he's like 90 kilos, and I underestimated him, thinking I could just move around. But what he had done, he had the speed as well as the weight and the power. He like a lightweight, and he caught me with his lovely turning kick to my head, and I was like, wow, how did that hit me? And then that's a valuable lesson. I teach my big guys. I've got a couple of 80, 90 kilos blokes in my club. One's a black belt, one's a white belt. And I say, if you can get the speed, you shouldn't always fight using your weight as your advantage. Get the speed, and then, you know, you're going to be virtually unstoppable. They can get heavyweight and fights like a lightweight. They're really dangerous.
Well, I tell you what, it reminds me of the big man that I used to fight in the team with him was Tony Sewell. Now he very, very light on his feet and heavy, so quick, flexible, had everything really, had everything. And I always thought I was quite quick. I remember fighting at one of my very first squad training sessions, which was actually in Scotland. It was in St Andrews. Or no, it was further up than St Andrews. But anyway, and trying to get out of the way of his kick and couldn't do it because he was so quick. But no, you're right. You're right. You know, if they can move, you know, be light, move quick, but heavy as well, then that is a very deadly combination. You know, woe betide if you get kicked with it. But there we go. So what's we sort of coming to the end of our podcast in just a second. But and also as well, you know, I'd love to do this again and maybe discuss some other things as well. That's the first thing. Second thing is that have you anything in the pipeline at the moment, or anything for the future that you'd like to see for yourself or your schools?
I've got a book idea that I've not put because of lockdowns and stuff. I had it for quite a while now. I mean, I could always do the volume 3 of the applications books, but I'm not sure. That's a lot of work. But I've got. But I like to do. Now I've got some different books out. I like the fact that I've got covering different, you know, areas of Taekwondo. So I've got, you know, the books on just pattern performance. That people can, if they're not into the application, got the applications ones. If people don't need that at all, then I've got the history one. I've done a Holston style one, which I was quite pleased with. So there is an idea. I won't say what it is in case someone nicks it because I've had that before. On the book front, there's that. Obviously, the magazine, we're continually trying to do new stuff and keep it fresh and interesting. Keep that. And I'd like to get back to Korea. I've been to Korea twice now. We were going to go in 2021, but obviously COVID and everything put a stop to that. So maybe in a couple of years we get back, because Korea it was an awesome trip. Well, both of them.
Oh, fantastic! I was due to go last year, by the way, a week before the lockdown. I was. I was still going. Had everything. People were saying, "Oh, we still going?" I said, "Yeah, we're still going." And then, bang! Yeah, right. Absolutely gutted about it. And I've still got the tickets for it. I've spoken to Master Crook over there. I don't know what's going to happen and when we'll be able to go, but very, very disappointed. There was about 20 of us going. So yeah, from our group. But there we go. That's the way the world is at the moment. And
well, hopefully once things settle down, you get back there, because you'll love it. Absolutely love it.
Oh, it's brilliant. Yeah, the first time on the talk tour was great. It was, as I said, quite different because we had quite a mix of people, quite young, and some people. Sorry,
someone already.
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay, so you know they're good.
Yeah. 2017 we did one.
I think I remember now. Yeah. 2017,
but hoping to, we were hoping to go again. But we'll see how it goes. What I will say on this podcast for everyone, if you ever get the chance to go on Master Crook's tour, just do it, because it's fantastic. You'll have a great time, and it's also excellent value for money as well. I will say that it's really, really good. You visit some fantastic sites. If you love Taekwondo, you'll love the tour. Definitely. Definitely.
Yeah, second that, 100%.
Yeah, definitely. Well, look, thanks very much, Stuart. I really appreciate your time. I'd love to have you on here again, maybe talk about some other things, some other aspects of martial arts again. As I said, this podcast is about, getting an insight into the people that perhaps are passionate about martial arts, why they're passionate, and just exploring their passions a little bit. But thank you very much. Really, really great to see you. And, hopefully we'll see you. Hopefully I'll see you in person at some point as well in the near future. And, we can chat again.
Yep, love to.
Excellent.
Anytime.
Well, take care. For all those listening, we'll put some details in the show notes of Stuart's books. And, I'm sure most of you are aware of them anyway, but we'll put them there. We'll see you soon on the Living Martial Arts podcast. Thank you very much.